What is going on, everybody? It's Buddy here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to put a brand new fuel pump inside a Chevy Cobalt. So let's get right into it. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the battery. We are going to be messing with electrical components under the car, so we don't want to make sure we don't short anything out. So we're going to go under the car from the back, and you can see if we go through here, you're going to see this is where you fill up your gas. This is your filler neck here. It's going to come all the way back. You see right here at the end of the filler neck, you got this hose clamp that attaches your filler neck to your gas tank. So we're going to go ahead and remove this hose clamp. I do have a joint adapter on there to make my life a little bit easier. Then coming over here to the right, we're going to have one more right here that we're going to remove. So we're going to go ahead and take this one off as well. So now we got them both off. We're going to go ahead and give this guy a good yank. Just take a long flathead screwdriver and we're going to put it right here. We're going to go ahead and yank that out here with our screwdriver. And perfect. Now at this point we're going to stick our siphoning hose into the gas tank and feed it all the way in there. Now we're going to take the other end of our hose, put it in the gas tank, and start pumping our gas in. Now, once you got it started, it should just keep running. So we're going to do this and get the tank as empty as possible. Now, once you siphon all the gas you can out of the gas tank, we're going to come up here and we're going to have two electrical connectors right here that we're going to take off. And all you need to do to pull these off is there's a tab right here. You pull this back and then give it a good yank. And be sure not to rip this tab off. Perfect. Now we're going to come over here to our emissions box. And we're going to have two more electrical connectors. We're going to pull this tab back and pop this back. Now this one here, you're just going to press down right here and pull straight out. Now after you got your electrical connections off, you're going to have a wire bracket right here and another wire bracket right here. To remove the wire brackets, you're going to get something small, and you can see there's a slit right here on the side. You can stick something in there and pop it out, and they open right up. And we're going to do the exact same thing here on the other one. We're going to get something small. We're going to put it here, pop it open, and it releases your wires. Now at this point, we're able to take our wires and pull everything out. So now coming over here, we're going to have this little white button that goes to our vent hose. We're going to pull this off. And you can see here, this is how you remove them. You just press these two buttons and it kind of opens it up a little bit. Now right behind this vent hose we just worked on, we're going to have our fuel filter. So we're going to have this blue button on this side and there's also a blue button on the other side. So if it's stuck on there, what you can do is take some needle nose pliers, push the button, and then pry it off. Just like that. And be sure to have a catch can ready because it will start dripping some fuel. Now it's going to be the same method here. This one has a dark blue button as you can see. So we're going to press on both sides and then pry it off with our needle nose pliers. Now zooming on out a little bit, we have our fuel filter here, just so you guys know where we're at relative wise. So we have this tube running here to our emissions box, the bottom one with the white button. We're going to go ahead and push the button on both sides and wiggle it off. So now that we got this off, you can see back here, this is where our fuel pump is. All of the hoses and tubes running to our fuel pump are disconnected, all electrical wires as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on our straps. So with the straps here, you can see right up by the fuel filter, you're going to have one nut there. And then going across, we're going to have one more right there. And then coming down, following the strap, we're going to have one right here. And then if we go straight to the right, we're going to have another one right there. So there's 4 half-inch bolts holding this in. So I'm going to go ahead and spray all 4 with some brake loose. So while that brake loose soaks into the bolts, what we're going to do is we're going to get our jack in place to hold the weight of the gas tank. I'm using a piece of scrap plywood to help balance the weight of the gas tank. And if you don't have some plywood, I'm sure you could find something in your garage to hold it up. One time in a pinch, I actually used a cutting board from the kitchen. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now be sure you don't put any pressure on the gas tank. All you want to do is kind of just rest the piece of plywood on the bottom. So when you loosen up the bolts, it doesn't just drop on the floor. So we're going to go ahead and start on the 2 bolts towards the front of the vehicle. And we're going to hit the second one Now we're going to start on the back two bolts. We're going to start on the one here by the fuel filter. And then the last one here on the back left side. Now there's one last step before we drop the gas tank. We're going to take all our wires and tubes and we're going to put them on the other side of this cross member. Now at this point we can go ahead and slowly lower our gas tank. So in theory, when you lower your jack, your gas tank's supposed to lower down with it and everything's supposed to be good. But with me, my car lifts actually get in the way of the gas tank dropping down just because the heat shield on the bottom is so wide. So I actually had to get under the car and manually kind of wiggle it out. But it was no big deal. I got it out, so let's move on to the next step. Now at this point, we're going to clean the top of the gas tank. You want to make sure you get all the gunk you can off, just to make sure that when you pull out your fuel filter, you don't drop any contaminants inside of your gas tank. You definitely want to make sure you take your time with this step. Any little debris that gets in there could potentially clog up one of your fuel injectors or a fuel line and give you problems here in the future. So now that our fuel tank is nice and clean, what we're going to do is we're going to take our fuel filter out. Our fuel filter is right here under this locking ring. And how we're going to get this locking ring open is with a little piece of copper. Now ideally you want to use a piece of brass or bronze because it's less likely to create a spark, but a piece of copper will just do the trick. I can't find my punch here, so no problem. What we're going to do is we're going to smack it open this way with a hammer. Now the reason we use a piece of copper, brass, or bronze is we don't want to create a spark and potentially catch ourselves on fire, so it's always good to practice safety measures. So we're going to go ahead and pop this guy open. And beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and get our locking ring out of the way. And we're going to slowly pull up our fuel pump. Now there's going to be some hoses in the way, so we're going to get those out. Pull up nice and slow, just kind of work it out. And then the last thing, we're going to have our float right here. We're going to pull off to the side and pop it right up. Now we're going to take our gasket ring out of here, and we're going to carefully just wipe any of this gunk out. Don't want to push any in the gas tank, so take your time. Now a good practice is to dump out your gas, clean the bottom of your gas tank, and put new gas in there. The reason being, a lot of these gas tanks have really gross deposits in the bottom. This one seems really clean for the most part, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that step and put in our new fuel pump. So to install our new fuel pump, what we're going to do first is attach our float to our fuel pump. Just like that. And then after we put our float on, we're going to take our new gasket. Your fuel pump should have came with a new gasket, and we're going to put that in place. And then we're going to take our float, put that in head first, and then we're going to slide our fuel pump in there. Be sure to pay attention to which way it came out. Our electrical connector was facing this way, so we're going to put it in the exact same way we took it out. And we're going to slowly work it in there. Now that we got our fuel pump seated in there, we're going to take our locking ring and we're going to slide it over these hoses. We're going to line up our fuel pump and line up our locking ring. We're going to go ahead and push these hoses into the grooves. Then we're going to take our homemade punch and hit our locking ring in place. We're going to rerun our electrical connector into the groove. And we're going to plug our brand new fuel pump in. And now we're going to put our fuel tank back in. And as I stated before, I'm not able to use the car jack, but you should definitely utilize the jack in your situation. And also be careful not to pinch any hoses or wires when you're putting the gas tank back in. And after we got our fuel tank propped in place, we're going to start by putting the straps back on. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts. We're going to wiggle our white button emissions hose back in the emissions box. Then we're going to plug our fuel pump lines into our fuel filter. We're going to plug our vent line back in place. Make sure to clamp your wires back in place. Then we're going to hook up all of our wiring to our emissions box and our power source. Don't forget the hose clamps to your filler tube, and also reconnect your battery. So the last thing we do before we start the car, we're going to put the key in the ignition. We're going to turn it to the point it's about to start, but we don't crank it. Turn it off, back on, turn it off, and back on. What that's going to do, that's going to prime the fuel system. It's going to get all the fuel inside of the lines. So at this point, you're ready to start your car and enjoy your brand new fuel pump. Now guys, if you are a Chevy Cobalt owner, or matter of fact, if you're a car owner period, you should definitely subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of really good information, a lot more videos to come here on this Chevy Cobalt.
And as always, be sure to hit the little thumbs up button here under the video. It really helps me out more than you guys know. And also definitely consider subscribing. I got some pretty cool videos here up on the screen that you guys will probably like. So definitely check my channel out and see if it's something for you. Until then, have a good one, guys.